Now at 8 o'clock on WKYT this morning, Kentucky State Police have arrested a man in connection with the murder of a 15-year-old girl in Scott County. The latest on the investigation just ahead. Plus, the Lexington community gathered to mark the 10-year anniversary of the crash of Comair 5191. We'll hear from the victims' families. And in eastern Kentucky, City makes history holding its first ever Pride Festival. We'll see how Moorhead's Pride Festival went ahead on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Sean Moody. Michelle Chamberlain has the morning off. Excuse me. If you are a fan of hot and humid weather, maybe you're a crazy person, but you'll be happy about today's forecast. Meteorologist Mike Linden says it's just going to be another one of those.
Not to mention pollen's high, too. It's getting to Sean. It's getting to me. It's getting to everybody. I mean, the heat, the humidity, the pollen, it's just one of those days where nothing is really going our way. Right now, the lower 70s out there. So this is the best time to get out because once we get into the afternoon, we are talking about, once again, some brutally uncomfortable and hot conditions, to say the least. This is a live look toward downtown Lexington from our studio here on Winchester Road. Hazy, to say the least, along the horizon. That's all that moisture still in the lower portion of the atmosphere. We look at the Defender radar network. There's some cloud cover out there. It's pretty scattered, far and few between, and that'll be the case with thunderstorm development as well. That's what you're seeing there along the southern edge of I-75. You're seeing that moisture condensing into clouds and potentially becoming some thunderstorms there. We take a wider look at what's going on. The United States is relatively quiet here on this Sunday morning, but it's the hot, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico that continues to cause problems for us here at home. So that heat and humidity, it's not going anywhere. Even though we round out the month of August here in the next few days, get ready for things to remain hot. I'll show you how hot coming up.
All right, Mike, thank you. We've learned Kentucky State Police have now charged a man in connection with the death of a 15-year-old girl in Scott County. Troopers say Michael Davidson fired shots outside a home at the Parker's Mobile Home Park, hitting a teenager inside. WKYT's Mike Byers at our live desk this morning, tracking the investigation. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Sean. There's a vigil planned tonight for that girl who police say was shot in the neck and pronounced dead at the scene. Police have not released her name, but family members tell us her name was Morgan Penn. Family members also say Penn did not live in the area, but was at the mobile home and stamping ground for sleepover. State police had charged Michael Davidson with her murder. Troopers say Georgetown police spotted Davidson's vehicle and attempted to pull him over. Police say Davidson did not stop and they chased him into Franklin County. Now, family members tell us Penn was always smiling and singing.
Our whole family is very tight-knit. She was a good kid. She was a teenager. She loved to sing. Her dad played the guitar.
Tucker Yoakum and Wilson Funeral Home in Georgetown will be handling Penn's funeral arrangements. Her family has set up a fundraising account to help cover funeral expenses. We have a link to it on WKYT.com. At the live desk, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Mike, thank you. The heat couldn't keep hundreds of people from spending a morning outside at the University of Kentucky Arboretum to mark the 10th anniversary of the crash of Comair 5191. 49 people died in that crash at Lexington's Bluegrass Airport. There was just one survivor, the first officer of the flight. During the ceremony, organizers read the names of each victim, and the 3 first responders who were first to arrive on the scene rang a bell for each of them. The many families of the 49 who died 10 years ago shared memories of their loved ones with us. They thanked the community for their support and help in the days and weeks that followed that tragedy.
It's a beautiful, beautiful service, beautiful ceremony. It's really, really amazing to see, you know, everybody rallying together as a community.
Thankful that we're at this point now, 10 years later, where we can have this kind of ceremony and it's not all about grief, it's about community and just being able to come together with one another.
Now, if you missed the Flight 5191 10th anniversary memorial service, you can watch that entire service on WKYT.com. Just look for this story and click on it. Investigators have released the name of a soldier accused of firing shots at Fort Campbell. They say Specialist Brian Castillo has been at Fort Campbell since September 2013. Military police there say Castillo walked into a hangar on Thursday, fired 2 shots, and then took off in his car. Police chased him and caught him about 30 minutes later. They said they found more weapons and ammunition in his car. Police don't have a motive for the shooting. No one was injured. This year, the city of Moorhead is making history with its first ever Pride Festival. Now, just a year ago, you may remember Rowan County was in the national spotlight because of its bitter battle on same-sex marriage. Festival organizers wanted to show the people of the LGBT community that they support them. Michael De Leon and Greg Burke were plaintiffs in the Kentucky gay marriage lawsuit that went all the way to the Supreme Court. They say smaller cities like Moorhead need to have their own Pride festivals.
We know that there are LGBT people, there are communities that exist in Eastern Kentucky and Western Kentucky, and it's just so important for them to have their own celebrations at home.
Now, organizers also started a scholarship fund for LGBTQ students there in the region. Hillary Clinton met with national intelligence employees this weekend to get a briefing on security threats facing the U.S. Donald Trump got a similar briefing earlier this month. He spent his Saturday campaigning in Iowa. Wendy Gillette covers both campaigns.
A police car led several vehicles into an FBI office in White Plains, New York, where Hillary Clinton received her first national security briefing. The Democratic presidential nominee attended the more than 2-hour briefing by herself with no aides present. She got an overview of threats facing the country from representatives of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. It was her only scheduled event of the day. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump spoke at a fundraiser in Iowa, a state where polling shows the candidates are tied. It's a bright spot for him. National polls show Clinton leads Trump by about 6 points, but Trump is staying positive about his chances.
We're going to have a great victory on November 8th, I can tell you.
Trump drew some ire on Twitter Saturday for his comment about the murder of NBA star Dwayne Wade's first cousin in Chicago. He tweeted, "Dwayne Wade's cousin was just shot and killed walking her baby in Chicago. Just what I have been saying. African Americans will vote Trump." The tweet brought condemnation on social media from those who said Trump was politicizing a tragedy. Trump later tweeted again, offering his condolences, and also mentioned the murder at his rally. Wendy Gillette for CBS News, New York.
Dwayne Wade has yet to respond to Trump's comments. Trump has no scheduled events today. Clinton will hold fundraisers in the Hamptons. Now, here is one prized hog. The Kentucky State Fair's grand champion country ham sold for $600,000. The ham from Broadbent B&B Foods weighed a little more than 17 pounds. Central Bank President Luther Deaton Jr. bought it. Deaton says the money from his winning bid will go to several organizations here in Lexington, like UK Athletics, UK Hospital, God's Pantry, Sunrise Children's Home, and Kentucky Community and Technical College. That's going to have to be a good tasting ham for that much money. WKYT This Morning is just getting started. It's 8:08 on your Sunday morning, and we are sniffing out the ins and outs of having a dog as a pet. Do you know how much it costs to have a pup? That's still ahead here on WKYT This Morning. And this guy is the gold medalist in the sport we never knew we needed. We'll take a look at one American's stellar performance in the air guitar world championships after Mike does a little air guitar in his forecast.
We have so much good stuff coming up here on WKYT this morning. We're looking at a forecast that should round out the month of August on a hot note, not to mention that air guitar video. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Mike Linden.
Here we go again, another hot and humid day in the bluegrass. And if you're wondering, too, why maybe your eyes are itchy and it's just uncomfortable to even breathe, well, the pollen levels are pretty high too. We're just getting nothing good here in Kentucky here to round out the month of August. These are conditions you would normally expect to find in late July, let alone late August. But it is still the summer, of course, so here we roll on with summer conditions. Not too much going on this morning on the Defender radar network as far as thunderstorms go. That'll be later this afternoon, at least the potential for it. What we are finding, though, is a lot of moisture still stuck at the horizon. That's that haziness that you can really see here on the live sky camera looking toward downtown Lexington. We take a wider look at what's going on across the United States. A lot of action to the north in Canada, but here over the United States, really not too much. We look at the Gulf, though, and northward into Kentucky. Still a lot of hot, humid air coming in northward and working its way right on into the Commonwealth. That's going to continue to fuel those temperatures into the upper or the mid to low 90s, rather. Some spots struggling to break that 95 or so degree mark, but most of us should sit right in that mid to low 90s range today with the potential for that thunderstorm development. But let's not forget that with the humidity, it's going to feel, instead of 91, feel more like 99, 100 degrees. We are looking at uncomfortable conditions to go along with it. Of course, that humidity, that's going to be running high here the next few days. Things do improve into Tuesday. Look at that. Just tropical rather than breaking the muggy meter today and tomorrow. This just goes to show you that if you're going to spend some time outside, do your best to stay hydrated. A lot of moisture in the air, and that's going to make things feel uncomfortable. Moving into the middle of our day today, check it out. We'll start you off at 9 o'clock this morning. A chance for some light showers over the southeastern mountains, and we are seeing some cloud development even this morning right along this corridor of I-75. South from about Madison County southward to about Corbin. So that'll be the area that we'll have to watch for moving into the afternoon today as far as some shower and thunderstorm development. But things are going to be moving very quickly out of the region. Now, yesterday we did see some severe thunderstorms over the Taylor and Adair County area. But remember, that's what you get with humidity in the air, these quick pop-up storms. Looking into the afternoon today, mainly the southeastern mountains, it could be looking at some more wet weather, and then that works its way northward toward the Louisville area. Overnight tonight, we do it all over again as we head into Monday. Temperatures right back into the mid to low 90s rather. A chance for additional thunderstorm development as the humidity continues. Of course, we have to check in on our friend 99L, the possible tropical system over the Caribbean. Looks like it's trending a bit more further south of Florida. While that is a good and a bad thing, that means that it has the chance to develop. If it stays away from the Florida coast and the Cuba coastline, a very narrow gap to make it through, well, it has a chance to work its way into the Gulf of Mexico. Look at all these spaghetti plots here working their way into the Gulf of Mexico. As far as the chances of development, according to the Hurricane Prediction Center, 40% to make it through the next 48 hours, and over the next 5 days, 60%. Now remember, the water in the Gulf of Mexico is incredibly warm, and that is what you need for this tropical development. So if it makes its way into the Gulf, well, we'll certainly be talking a bit more about that, about 99L here moving forward and potentially getting a name. We're looking at the next few days here in Kentucky, though, uncomfortably hot today and tomorrow. That 91 and 90, don't be fooled by that number because it's going to feel more like 99, 100 today and tomorrow. As far as thunderstorm chances go, a better chance for more widespread storms tomorrow, but watch southern Kentucky, at least through the first half of our day today, for the most likely thunderstorm development.
All right, we'll keep an eye out. Well, you know what they say, the fourth try is the charm, right? Something like that anyway. Yeah. Well, for that one American, that holds true while competing in the 21st Air Guitar World Championship.
This is the best video we're going to bring you all day. This is American Matt Aristotle Burns, who won the World Championship held in Finland this weekend. Well, he tried 3 times and finished in 2nd place, but if you ain't first, you're last. And this time, he was not last. He pretended to rock out better than the rest of them, and of course, made America proud in the process.
And I'm just pretty stoked. This is an Olympic year, so to bring the gold back to my country this year, it's really special.
Matt, you have an open invitation to come hang out with Sean and I whenever you want. Another American took bronze at the World Championship. This is Jeannie Mom Jeans Jeannie. Nicole Mom Jeans Jeannie, rather, finished in 3rd. Look at her rocking out. 15 air guitars from around the world competed in the World Championships there. Again, Nicole, Matt, you guys come hang out with us whenever you want, and you can do some air guitar here live in the studio and maybe teach us your ways. You guys are awesome.
I'm on board. Sounds good to me. It's 8:16 on your Sunday morning, and when WKYT This Morning returns, we love our pets, but they can be expensive. We'll take a closer look at just how much owning a dog can cost you when we come back on WKYT This Morning. But before we go to break, Tuesday night's Mega Millions jackpot is $154 million. Wednesday night's Powerball jackpot is $84 million. We will be right back. Welcome back. It is 8:19 on your Sunday morning. According to the ASPCA, nearly 4 million dogs are put into animal shelters nationwide every year. Now, that may inspire some to get a new dog, but experts say it can cost more than $1,000 in the first year. Brooke Silva Braga found some dog owners who spend even more on their best friends.
Watch me. High five. Haven Rowland doesn't mind spoiling her dog Caddy.
His chicken.
There's the box full of toys.
Nail clippers. Eye wash, a brush.
And the cabinet filled with items for her pet.
I think I'd be afraid to know what we actually spend on him each month.
The ASPCA ran the numbers and says it can cost up to $875 a year to take care of a dog. That includes food, toys, treats, and health insurance. The first year is even costlier, with expenses like vaccinations and spaying or neutering. Some owners spend even more.
I would say 90% of our Amazon packages are for the dog.
The ASPCA says the best way to cut costs is with preventive care, regular checkups, good quality food, doggy toothbrushing. You can also trim the vet bill by only getting the vaccines your specific dog needs.
Hey, Dante.
Veterinarian Kristen Frank says adopting a dog from a shelter also saves money.
Any cat or dog adopted from a shelter will already be spayed and neutered. They will have most, if not all, of their vaccines already given to them.
For Claudia Valencia, even if caring for her dog Chiquita is expensive, what she gets in return is priceless.
So much unconditional love and company, that is worth it.
Brooke Silva Braga for CBS News, New York.
It's 8:21 now on your Sunday morning, and there's still more to come. Sports is next.
The UK football season is now less than a week away, and John Calipari has some high praise about one of his incoming freshmen. That's next in sports.
And it is once again going to be an uncomfortable day out there. A live look at downtown Lexington. Humid, to say the least. Coming up, I'll show you how hot it will feel as we head into the afternoon.
And as we head on the break, here is a live look at a new litter of Great Dane puppies born at the Service Dog Project up there in Massachusetts. They look a little bit sleepy this morning. Mom does too. These little guys are going to help people who have a hard time moving around. Stay with us here on WKYT this morning.
Here we go again on Sunday with hot and humid conditions. If you spent any time outside at all yesterday, you know what I'm talking about. Another rough one out there today. We look at the Defender Radar Network. You can see these clouds forming from Madison County southward into Pulaski and Casey counties. Well, that is some convection going on. Potentially some showers and thunderstorms beginning to develop south of I-75. Nothing major just yet. We take a wide look at things. Looks like the rest of the United States is pretty quiet as we get our Sunday morning started. But one thing we're dealing with here in the Commonwealth, and most of us are dealing with in the Ohio Valley, is this hot, humid air coming right on into the bluegrass. That's going to push those temperatures today back into the mid to low 90s. Not to mention the humidity in the air going to make things feel like this. The upper 90s and low triple digits for quite a few spots out there. So if you have to spend some time outside today, this is what you're dealing with, and this should stick around through most of the day. Uncomfortable, to say the least. Lee Kay is up next with sports.
The Kentucky football team has begun game planning for their season opener against Southern Miss, now less than a week away. Defensive coordinator DJ Elliott will be scheming against former UK offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson. On offense, UK's game planning will be split up between co-offensive coordinators Eddie Gran and Darren Henshaw.
You know, Coach Gran does a lot of the run game. I'll do a lot of the pass game, but then we'll come together and we'll go over it all together, you know. And then we'll do third downs and red zone, and then we'll turn around and, you know, Eddie and Coach Slarman will work on the 3rd and 1 in the goal line, and then we'll turn around and work on our shot plays and how can we get the ball down the field. And then we'll come together and do 4th down, and we'll do coming out. We'll do all that together, and then usually we'll have the game plan complete at that point.
That is a lot of planning. The first test of the season against Southern Miss next Saturday night, 7:30 kickoff at Commonwealth Stadium. If you can't make it after the game, you can watch it on TV. It'll be on ESPNU. Big man Bam Adebayo will be UK's force in the middle this upcoming basketball season, and Coach John Calipari has some lofty goals for his freshmen. Calipari said on Thursday after spending the summer conditioning, Adebayo is on the court now working on his game. Despite flying under the radar, so to speak, Cal says Adebayo can be UK's next Karl Anthony Towns or Anthony Davis.
You know, other players were more highly thought of. When you start hitting late January and February, you're going to say, oh my goodness, because he's a beast with skills, greatest kid. I mean, he's a great teammate aside from that. You know, he's unselfish in all kind of ways, but he's a beast who can play basketball.
And while we're on the subject of basketball and John Calipari, don't forget later this evening, the John Calipari Celebrity Softball Classic is taking place out at Whitaker Bank Ballpark. Lots going on out there, a home run derby, a celebrity softball game. We'll have more on that tonight at 6 o'clock. But that'll do it for your morning sports. Have a great day.
Now at 8:30 on WKYT this morning, Kentucky State Police have arrested a man in connection with the murder of a 15-year-old girl in Scott County. The latest on the investigation just ahead. Plus, we're learning more about the deaths of two nuns stabbed to death in Mississippi. One of them had ties to Kentucky. We'll hear reaction from a friend coming up. And some Kentucky veterans were honored with a flight to our nation's capital. What the trip meant to them ahead on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I'm Sean Moody. Michelle Chamberlain has the morning off. If you are a fan of hot weather and humidity outside, meteorologist Mike Linden says you are going to be happy today. It is just looking nice and uncomfortable already. Huh?
How many fans of hot, humid weather are there out there? We really need to convince you otherwise. There's better weather out there because it is uncomfortable again here in Kentucky, starting out in the mid to low 70s. I mean, if you're a fan of this, well, then you're just over the moon because it has been a couple of days of hot, humid conditions. More of the same here into Sunday. We still have to wait a little bit for things to really heat up, but you can see the haziness along the horizon. That's all that moisture still locked into the atmosphere, and that's making that lower 90 feel more like the triple digits. This is a look across Kentucky, not necessarily seeing very much just yet, although those clouds over Garrett County, Pulaski County, Lincoln County, that is showing us some signs of some early morning convection. So some thunderstorms potentially beginning to fire up along southern Kentucky. If we do see anything, they'll be pretty short-lived, much like yesterday. Things are pretty quiet across the United States, but it is still hot and humid here in Kentucky. That Gulf of Mexico continuing to pour in with that hot, humid air that's making that, again, the lower 90 readings feel more like the triple digits. So, again, if you're a fan of this, well, we really have got to convince you otherwise because it's going to be uncomfortable here the next few days. I'll show you how hot it will feel for the start of the work week coming up.
All right, Mike, thank you. We have learned Kentucky State Police have now charged a man in connection with the death of a 15-year-old girl in Scott County. Troopers say Michael Davidson fired shots outside a home at the Parker's Mobile Home Park, hitting a teenager inside. WKYT's Mike Byers at our live desk this morning, tracking the investigation. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Sean. There's a vigil planned tonight for that girl who police say was shot in the neck and pronounced dead at the scene. Police have not released her name, but family members tell us her name was Morgan Penn. Family members also say Penn did not live in the area, but was at the mobile home park and stamping ground for a sleepover. State police had charged Michael Davidson with her murder. Troopers say Georgetown police spotted Davidson's vehicle and attempted to pull him over. Police say Davidson did not stop and they chased him into Franklin County. Now family members tell us Penn was always smiling and singing.
Our whole family is very tight-knit. She was a good kid. She was a teenager. She loved to sing. Her dad played the guitar.
Tucker Yoakum and Wilson Funeral Home in Georgetown will be handling Penn's funeral arrangements. Her family has set up a fundraising account to help cover her funeral expenses. We have a link to it on WKYT.com. Kentucky State Police say more charges are pending for Davidson. The Stomping Ground community will hold a prayer vigil for Morgan Penn tonight at 7. At the live desk, Mike Byer, WKYT.
Mike, thank you. The heat couldn't keep hundreds of people from spending a morning outside at the University of Kentucky Arboretum to mark the 10th anniversary of the crash of Comair 5191. 49 people died in that crash at Bluegrass Airport. Now, during the ceremony, organizers read the names of each victim. The 3 first responders who were first to arrive on the scene rang a bell for those victims, and many families of them thanked the community for their support and help in the days and weeks that followed that tragedy. We are learning more about the deaths of 2 nuns stabbed to death in Mississippi. A sheriff there says the man charged with their murders has confessed to the crime. Rodney Earl Sanders is charged with 2 counts of capital murder. Police found sisters Paula Merrill and Margaret Held earlier this week dead inside the home they shared in Durant, Mississippi. Merrill was a member of the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth, which is based in Nelson County here in Kentucky. She'll be buried near the congregation's headquarters. The two worked as nurses at a clinic for low-income residents.
These were people, and they treated everybody with dignity. They treated everybody with that care and compassion.
Police say Sanders confessed to the murders but gave no reason for the crimes. Police say they think robbery is the least likely motive. Dozens of veterans from Kentucky flew to Washington, D.C. as part of an honor flight that they won't forget anytime soon. Sponsors paid for veterans to see the memorials built especially for them, and WKYT's Phil Pendleton flew along. He shares their story.
It began before sunup to the applause of family and friends at Bluegrass Airport. Then it was wheels up to Washington, D.C. More than 40 veterans were on their way. When upon landing at the gate, hundreds of strangers applauded their arrival.
It makes you feel like it was all worthwhile, that somebody really cares, and you don't see too much of that today.
Richard Peters of Nicholasville served more than 40 years from Korea to the Gulf War.
I've lost a very good friend in the Korean War, and I consider myself very fortunate and not really worthy of what some of these people have gone through.
Their first stop in D.C. was Iwo Jima, where Nello Francis of Floyd County saw the memorial for the history that he witnessed firsthand.
They were aboard our ship when we landed there, those Marines. I saw them raise it. That was one of the hardest battles that the United States Navy had.
Then it was on to Arlington, sacred grounds where silence sometimes speaks louder than words ever could. 4 vets laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Most of the afternoon was spent at the memorial honoring World War II, a time David Settles says he was lucky to survive.
I got shot 8 times and lost 2 Jeeps out from under me.
The 92-year-old from Versailles has 16 medals and is considered one of the most decorated in the military.
I knew I had to do anything I could to help to knock out Germany. And so that's why when I was told to do something, I did it to the best of my ability.
Well, many of these war veterans say that if it wasn't for the honor flight, they would never get to see these memorials. But some have seen it, including the oldest veteran on this trip. He says, in fact, he was here when this memorial was dedicated. 97-year-old Ken Powell says he was in many major battles but was never wounded.
I'm emotional when I get thinking about being over there and what went on and so on. So I have a problem that way.
After stops at the Korean and Vietnam memorials, a flight home to a welcome like no other they had ever seen. Most said simply a great day for the greatest generation. In Lexington, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Those honor flight homecomings will always get the tears flowing just a little bit there. The Coach Cal Celebrity Softball Classic is today, with all the proceeds from that game helping people in need in Louisiana. The game features an all-star lineup, plenty of former Wildcats, including Carl Anthony Towns and Alex Poitras. They'll all play in today's game. You can check out CoachCalSoftballClassic.com for ticket information. That game is at 5:30 at Whitaker Bank Ballpark. And, of course, stay tuned for WKYT for those highlights later on today. It is 8:38 on your Sunday morning, and coming up here on WKYT this morning, a 5K in Scott County has become an inspiration for the community. We'll see how one little girl turned her own tragedy into triumph at the Findlay 5K. That's coming up after Mike's forecast.
Here we go again. If you like the heat and humidity, we might have to convince you otherwise, because we are talking about another hot and uncomfortable day out there again. Coming up, I'll show you how hot it will feel. Coming up.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Mike Linden.
The dog days of summer keep barking because we are looking at incredibly uncomfortable temperatures again here in the Commonwealth, and that is for almost every single spot in Kentucky, no matter where you go. It'll be hot out there. Looking at the Defender radar network, not seeing any thunderstorm activity just yet. We did see some severe thunderstorms over the Taylor and Adair County area yesterday, and once again that could occur. Not necessarily there, but somewhere in Kentucky. When you're talking about this much moisture in the air, thunderstorm development is likely to occur. We look at the live sky camera, haziness along the horizon. That is all that humidity trapped at the surface, and that's going to make things feel uncomfortable heading into our afternoon today. A wide look across the United States, not too much going on, but if we look here in Kentucky, we know that hot, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico is finding a home here in the Bluegrass State, working its way northward. That's going to make those mid to low 90s feel more like the triple digits again. Here's a look at your hour-by-hour forecast. Again, into the middle of our day today, getting into the mid to low 90s and staying there. That's going to stick with us through our day today. As far as the humidity goes, the muggy meter, we're almost off the charts. Tropical humidity today and tomorrow, and pretty much on Tuesday as well. So things are trending in the right direction, but maybe not drying out as quickly as we would like it to. Temperature-wise today, again, the mid to low 90s, and even if you see that in your thermometer, the mid to low 90s with the humidity will feel more like the triple digits out there today, and that'll stay with us up until about 8 o'clock this evening. We look at your hour-by-hour forecast, and as far as thunderstorm development goes, watch southern Kentucky as the most likely spot here within the next few hours as the spots where we could be looking at some of that. Right along I-75 south and pushing westward toward Adair and Taylor counties again. So if you're heading to church, you're getting any morning chores and errands done this morning, this will be the most likely spot to potentially get a little wet. Doesn't look like a downpour, but again, that is something that you may end up seeing as we get our morning started. Into the first half of the afternoon, watch the southeastern slopes of the mountains as the most likely spots for some activity. That'll be right around 3, 4 o'clock today. Moving into your evening hours, that begins to work its way northward. That energy sitting over the Lexington, Scott County, Franklin County areas, and that could potentially bring us, again, some showers and thunderstorms. This doesn't have the look of anything widespread, although there is certainly that opportunity moving into tomorrow when things do get a bit more organized. Notice how we have this line of showers and storms here rather than it being all scattered. Monday afternoon looks like the most likely day to deal with that. So let's look back at the Caribbean. We're looking at 99L. That is this possible tropical system that everyone's been talking about, but now it has begun to work its way a bit more south of the Florida coast. Notice how it's going right around the edge of Miami there, all these spaghetti plots. Well, these are potential tracks of this storm if it does develop. And this is troubling that it's working its way into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, again, it still needs to develop into something more than it is right now. And here are your chances of that happening according to the Hurricane Prediction Center in Miami. 40% through the next 48 hours, but through the next 5 days, 60%. Remember, the water in the Gulf of Mexico is incredibly warm. That's what you need for the tropical system to develop into something a bit more. Right now, 99L does not have a name, and we are certainly hoping that it does not get one. That could become troubling, especially for those Gulf Coast areas. Looking here at the next few days in the Bluegrass, uncomfortably hot and humid. It feels like the Gulf Coast here in Kentucky. Even though it says 91 and 90 for today and tomorrow, don't be fooled. It'll feel more like 99 and 100 degrees today and tomorrow. Almost daily thunderstorm chances for the weekend as well.
And it's not even just the hot weather, the pollen right now. I know I couldn't get my contacts in this morning. That's up there too, right?
Yeah, if you hear us sniffling and sneezing, the pollen is pretty high. I mean, Kentucky is one of those spots, and it's just another day, Sean. Everything that could happen is happening.
Sounds good. Well, a 5K in Georgetown has become a community inspiration. The Finley 5K started 4 years ago as a way to raise awareness of sudden infant death syndrome.
Well, more than 1,300 people raced in this year's Finley 5K, including one little girl who used the race to turn her own tragedy into triumph. WKYT's Kristen Kennedy has the story.
And it just kind of started with an idea, and I went to Samantha with it, and I was like, do you think we can do this?
When Stacy Wilson and Samantha Eddington heard their friends Dwayne and Chrissy Ellison had lost their 3-month-old son to SIDS, they knew they had to do something.
One morning I woke up and I was getting ready to do a 5K, and I thought, what if we did one of these for the Ellisons?
What was supposed to be a few hundred people grew to more than 1,000.
Every year it gets bigger and bigger. This is our biggest year yet. Me and my best friend Stacy started it 4 years ago. This is the 4th year.
In Scott County, you can bet if there's a tragedy or if there's an issue, people are going to rally.
There is one runner that is hoping to add to that inspiration. Katie Eddington, Samantha's daughter, ran her first 5K with her new prosthetic leg. Katie was in a mowing accident in 2013.
She runs quite a bit. She got this blade a couple months ago, and she just took off running.
Katie's goal was to run the race in just less than an hour. And with one last stretch to the finish line, Katie got her goal.
Can't beat that. That's awesome. It is 8:47 now on your Sunday. We'll have more news when we come back.
Good morning, I'm Bill Bryant, and we're glad you're with us on WKYT. Yesterday, Lexington marked 10 years since the crash of Flight 5191. Family members say it should be the last large-scale public event marking that awful tragedy. Former Lexington Mayor Teresa Isaac was in charge of city government at the time. On Kentucky Newsmaker, she remembers getting the call minutes after the crash saying that she would be needed quickly. Do you remember how you heard about the crash?
It was very early that morning, right after it happened, and I got a call from the 911 center and drove straight in and was at the police station at the 911 center. And then when I realized how bad it was, then I was directly at the site.
How did you know how bad it was?
From the calls that were coming in from police and fire.
And you, when you were hearing that, what was going through your mind, knowing that whatever happened, you would be a large part in leading the government's response?
It was going through my mind that it sounded very bad and that there may not be any survivors, and I wanted to make sure that we took care of the families, got them to a secure location, and that I was actually on site to make sure that their family members were handled with dignity and respect as they were moved to the medical examiner's office.
As a result, you did not appear at the initial news conferences, and there were those who thought you might have actually been on the flight because you were going to Germany.
I was scheduled to go, and then I'd canceled the trip, but I had been scheduled, but not on that flight, a later flight.
That was to prepare for the 2010 World Equestrian Games, and you ended up changing your plans and not going
at all. And I didn't go, right.
So as you moved from recognizing how serious it was and going out there to the site, where do you go from there?
Well, we made sure that we had the families secure. We had police officers that were assigned to protect the families and to get them to a secure location so that they could receive communication from the airline and from counselors that we were making available. And then we wanted to make sure that we were giving the families updates. We wanted to make sure they had as much information as they could get. And then we worked with state authorities to make sure we could have extra help to both transport and perform autopsies on family members.
And then it's a human response. When you saw those families initially, all you can do is give them a hug.
Give them hugs and try to give them as much information. We wanted to make sure we could help identify people as quickly as possible so they could be returned to their loved ones. And so we worked very closely with the dentists in the area, making sure that we had dental records. We used police officers to pick up dental records, transport them to the medical examiner's office. I actually hand carried some dental records myself to the medical examiner's office. And then we wanted to make sure that we had counselors available not only for the families but for the first responders. And so I arranged with a team from the Oklahoma City bombing to come in, and they counseled police, fire, and people in the medical examiner's office.
Also on Kentucky Newsmakers, Deborah Hersman, who helped investigate the crash for the NTSB. We also talk with Mayor Isaac about what she's up to now this weekend on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. We'll repeat that coming up at 10 o'clock on the CW Lexington. Set your DVR or catch it then. We'll have all the latest for you bright and early this week on WKYT This Morning. I'm Bill Bryant, and we'll be right back.
Get your water bottles ready.
To say the least. I mean, you could probably just leave it outside and the air will evaporate right into the bottle. There's so much moisture out there. We're looking at another hot and uncomfortable day. That 91 and that 90, those are a little, don't be fooled by that. because we're going to, once again, feel more like 98, 99, 100 degrees thanks to that humidity out there. So do your best to stay safe. Watch the very young and the elderly as well. Make sure everyone is hydrated, like you mentioned. Just limit your time outside. It's just going to be uncomfortably hot again.
All right, well, you all have a good day. Nobody is more up to date than you to start the day. And remember, the news is always on at WKYT.com.